Hello, hello. We are the Double Loser Podcast. This is Morg, and with me, my co host Joe.
Hello.
And this week, we are recapping for you The Hills Season 4, Episodes 6 through 10. And I must say, these episodes are getting really repetitive. Joe, how have you thought?
Same, Morg, exactly what we were saying the last time. We really were expecting to see some growth, some changes. It is the same old everything.
Yeah, I'm curious if the reboot did very well now that I'm finally watching The Hills for the first time and realizing I'm not getting much out of this anymore, but I am waiting. I guess I can't help but wonder what's going to happen with Heidi and Spencer. Like, I know they get married, but I just have to watch the train wreck that is their relationship.
I agree with you. I will say I am ready for this wedding to happen, but something that I don't know, I wonder how real all of this is. It's kind of what we've talked about is like feels like some of the drama's fake between them, but it also feels like the fact that they're married and they're still married, like how authentic is all of this? Like I am very intrigued by that.
How real is Hollywood in general? Can't be sure.
About as real as Heidi's new face.
Oh, or Audrina's new boobs in these episodes.
Morg, couple watermelons on a toothpick over there. What happened?
I don't know, but they surprised everyone in episode 10 when they popped out in the pool.
They were popping out several times, and it just made me wonder, like, how long ago did she even get these? And I just didn't realize, or did she just get them? But they are quite in your
New.
face, and yes, quite new and quite round. Just like they were a character.
They're on the running for the King of the Hills this season.
Right, y'all? New character alert. We'll see the drama they bring to the table.
Well, I mean, it's kind of fitting because Audrina is a center point of these episodes. So I'm going to really quickly go through a recap of the episodes we'll be talking about. In episode 6, we see Heidi's sister, Holly. She's still living with Spencer and Heidi, which really I just could not stay there very long. So I'm surprised by this, but I have theories about it that we'll come back to. But in the meantime, Holly is also befriending LC again now that she's in LA. And Heidi and Spencer are not happy with this. So, of course, there's some ultimatums offered there. Audrina is getting a little bit more responsibility at her job, which is risky for everyone, especially the reputation of Epic Records.
Yes.
Because Chiara seems to have stepped out of town for the week and Audrina takes over. Then in episode 7, we see Lauren be whisked away with her family to Italy, and Stephanie goes on a date with Doug, which apparently is a big no-no from Lo and Audrina. They warned her not to do it, but she went anyway. So upon Elsie's return in episode 8, we see a bunch of drama go down and basically Elsie being upset for the date that Stephanie goes on with Doug. But we also see in episode 8, Darlene, if you don't remember, is Heidi's mom, and she stops by unexpectedly to drop a visit on Heidi, Spencer, and Holly. And she does not hide her feelings about Spencer.
Oh, so many thoughts on that.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, it just is an overwhelming amount of people that are in Heidi's life, essentially like screaming, please leave this man. But nobody's moving on that. She never does, I guess.
No, nobody ever explicitly says it in Heidi's family either.
That's a good point. But Heidi still has a longing for her friendship with Elsie, which we see in episode 9. She writes Elsie a letter. But I'm over the Elsie and Heidi drama.
As is Elsie.
So I didn't feel connected to it and also felt repetitive.
Yep.
Because she already wrote Elsie a letter, if we remember, from earlier seasons. So it's just all repetitive.
One trick pony.
Audrina, though. Yeah, one trick pony. All I got is letter writing. But we do see Audrina go on a few dates outside of the Justin Bobby realm, which we are all rooting for. But Justin Bobby, don't worry, he's still around. She's just dating other people as well as Justin Bobby now. And that all comes to a head with the question in episode 10 of who will she take to Cabo?
Oh, the biggest question it felt like ever.
Oh, yes. But that is the majority of these episodes.
Same stuff.
So I'm going to start us. Yeah, same stuff. But I'm going to start with a really important question of, do we think that Hollywood's like social circles are literally this small, or do we think that, you know, the Real Housewives shows, The Hills, like, do we think that they just make them small so that we always see relevant characters? Because how do they always run into each other, and how do they all know their exes and, you know, people from their past?
So I feel like this is, I don't know what's the name of this, but it has almost like a small town feel to it. It's like all of these people knew each other from always, and they're like so unwilling to branch out because they all still live in the area. I don't know. Like, I don't know if that has like a name.
Yeah, I mean, it does smell like
But
it does feel like small town vibes. And it's ironic because
right?
multiple times in the show, they'll be like, there's however million people in LA and they can't find somebody else to hang out with. And it's like, but y'all all hang
Yes.
out together.
Right. Okay, Morg. So that feels almost like a theme in this show is like there are so many people in the world, yet you always gravitate towards the same 10.
Yeah.
But as far as the housewife thing, like that was a crazy little crossover. Also, not the first cameo we've seen from a future celeb. But Morg, I feel like there just has to be like such an elite, like Beverly Hills group. And maybe those people do all kind of know each other.
So maybe it is this small.
Maybe it is this small. Maybe all of these little rich kids only hang out with these other really rich kids.
Yeah.
Doug's dad owns a jet.
Doug's dad took them to Las Vegas in a private jet.
And will be taking them to Cabo in said jet.
Oh, I would be friends with Doug just to ride in his dad's jet.
Which is really saying something because Doug kind of shows us he really sucks these episodes.
Oh my God, you're right. I wouldn't really be friends with Doug. I would just use him.
But you would use him. Exactly. No judgment.
I would hang out in this tiny circle of horrible people to go to Cabo once on a private jet. I don't want to do like repeated friendship with them.
Okay. So we really can't apparently judge these people because we would
Apparently I would do it.
We would do it.
Well, just one time, Joe. I just gotta ride on my private jet one time so I can be like, yeah, I did once. It was actually like the most snobby people ever. I wouldn't do it again.
You know, Mark, you say that, but I could see you getting addicted to the sequins and the lifestyle.
Sequins. I do like sequins.
You do love sequins.
The lifestyle. The lifestyle of being a douchebag. I'm addicted. Hit me again.
Morg's got her own diamond encrusted
dog tags. And I talk down to everyone I meet. Well, you know, before I rode on Doug's jet or his dad's jet, I used to be like you.
Yeah, right. You wear a trucker's hat and you're like, bruh, nah, homie.
I'm beyond annoyed.
Oh my gosh, you're the new Spencer.
Oh my God. I don't like how this conversation is taking a turn for the worst.
You're right.
My future. What my future
This
holds.
is a hypothetical gone wrong.
Hey, you know what? Never say never.
Never say never.
I could easily fall in the trap of dog tags and Hardy and private jet.
Wow.
But I mean, it really just had us questioning because in one of the episodes, we do see, okay, bear with us for a second. We see Doug and Stephanie on a date, and Brody's mom and Taylor Armstrong from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills runs into them at said restaurant. So that's when I really just had to be like, is it this small? Are these people just running into each other at I don't know, buying whatever their groceries for the week? I don't understand.
Yeah. No, you're right. Like it does feel very, yeah, that's why I guess it feels like it must be like some sort of elitist thing. Like they just go to really fancy restaurants. Do you think they'd run into each other at grocery stores, or do you think they have other people doing their grocery shopping? Wow.
I think their servants run into each other at grocery stores.
Yeah, they're like, oh my gosh, hey, you work for Taylor, right? I'm Linda's servant.
Oh my God, I'm making them Italian wedding suit for dinner. Oh my God, me too.
Wow, what's your recipe?
That's, yeah, so right. And like Doug's daddy's pilot like hangs out with Brody's daddy's pilot, you know?
They all have the same jeweler.
Oh my God. Yes. It has to be small then, okay? They're just running in the same social circle.
It has to be. So I think we've
Okay,
answered it,
fine. I just still find it
which is
unacceptable
weird.
to casually run into your friend's mom and a Real Housewife of Beverly Hills in one evening.
Yeah, like, it feels like one of those things where it's like, what are the odds? But apparently nobody seemed as shocked. So apparently pretty good odds if you're
Pretty
Brody
good
Jenner.
odds. Yeah, I guess so. And apparently, you know, the mom is in on the drama and immediately calls her son to be like, "Do you know who Doug is on a date with?"
Okay. Also, I thought about that more and I was like, ugh, feels like Brody's mom is just as petty as Brody.
Oh my god, well, then maybe that's where he got it from. I feel like we should just go down on the Doug path right now because
I think
this is
we
where we're
have
at.
to.
So, okay, it gets introduced in episode 7 that Doug has asked allegedly Doug has asked Stephanie on a date, and she
Yes,
goes to Audrina while Elsie is in Italy to see what she should do.
yes, and it's very Audrina's response was also very like, okay, Audrina, like you got to say something here because clearly Stephanie felt like some guilt or something when she came and told Audrina and like sought out her advice. But Audrina was just like, I mean, I don't know. Lauren dated him. And he was like, okay, then be like, no, you shouldn't go on a date with him. But I just felt weird the way it all went down. It was like nobody said anything.
Here's the thing. I feel like these people only tell each other to absolve themselves so that if it does come back out, they will be like, "Well, I told Audrina because you weren't here." And it's like a really easy way to like offset like their guilt. So I don't even feel like Stephanie really gave a crap about asking Audrina. I feel like she probably already went on a date with him already texted him already. This is just more so like beating Elsie to finding out. So I therefore tell Audrina.
Interesting. Okay, so that does seem like a very a good tactic to be for like a scapegoat kind of thing. Although, Morg, I will say what I realized was Audrina seems to be the last person I would tell something that I was remotely keeping a secret because she spread that sucker like wildfire.
Okay, she did, but also wouldn't she be the first person you use as a scapegoat?
Yes. So it is
So
it's a catch 22 right there.
it is. It's like, you know what? You won't remember. And I can say you said anything.
Yeah, but apparently she's already spread it before she forgot. So maybe she forgets, but not everyone else she's told will.
That's true. But I don't know. I guess I don't I've been watching enough of The Hills to know I'm playing their game now, Joe. I'm getting ready for my first private jet ride and I'm trying to think how they think, okay? And I think they're just
Ooh.
all trying to absolve themselves so that they try to look better on TV because I do feel like it's kind of a game of like what's interesting enough that we filmed that will actually be featured. And you're kind of always hoping, right? It's making you look in a better light. So
Yes, so that way you can stay a
stay
star.
a star, a likable star.
Although a lot of times, Morg, I feel like the things that they leave in are the things that don't make you seem very likable based on what I've seen in the hills.
Well, I guess that's the thing, Joe. But at the time, I feel like people did like LC a ton. I feel like Audrina was also well liked. I feel like Holly, I mean not Holly. I feel like Heidi was actually
Yeah,
rooted
don't
for.
say
No, Holly
Holly.
Holly had terrible extensions and nobody told her. Sent her back to Colorado with them. And then she came back and they're gone.
Yes, Holly. Mm.
Yeah, but I think at the time people were rooting for all the girls kind of thing, you know?
Okay.
Am I wrong about that?
I wish I could remember. I do feel like I remember thinking on tabloids it always looked like Spencer and Heidi were the villain.
Oh, I guess that's true. But also wasn't that the wave they were going to ride? That's their story
Yeah.
that they wanted to tell.
Yeah, it definitely feels like they picked that path. They made a very conscious choice to be the villain.
Well, and continuing on my like absolving theory,
Mhm.
like Spencer didn't mind being the villain and Heidi could always hide behind him. So that Heidi I think in her head thought she wasn't.
Oh, it's like justifying it.
Yeah, it's like I can't control his actions. Like so many times her words are
Like,
like
what do you want me to do? It's him.
absolving
Yeah.
herself and yeah, but just being like, but I can't help who I love. So no one has any accountability in this world.
Interesting. Morg. I feel like you could do a very academic thesis paper on reality, analyzing reality television.
Put me on a 60-minute episode with these ladies and let me ask them some real questions.
Did you or did you not use this to get out of way feeling guilty?
Do you feel guilt? And I'll play like a clip. Do you feel guilt now that you watch it back?
Yes or no? Answer the question.
Do you know what you were doing here? Or was it presented in a way that's not true? Tell me what really happened. I don't know. Sounds like I'm a lawyer on a jury case. Maybe it's too harsh.
I would watch it. I would totally watch it. But Morg, so then since you're kind of on this topic, and I feel like you are getting into the mind of these reality stars, whenever Lauren does come home from Italy and she has this bomb dropped on her, she goes and she talks to Stephanie. And Stephanie, in my opinion, really didn't cover herself well. So maybe she felt like she'd absolved herself, but she definitely is like lying to Lauren, and it's real weird. Like, I don't know, like she's like, I just deleted Doug's phone number out of my phone, but I'm going to his barbecue. To which in my head, I was immediately like, what? That makes no sense. And then Lauren out loud is like, what? That immediately makes no sense. What would Morg, my reality star in the reality star head expert, do in that situation? Like, how would you have handled it if you were Stephanie and you've already absolved yourself of guilt?
Oh, if I'm Stephanie.
Yeah, like how would you have handled that? Because like I just really, she just was like trying to lie about it, and it made it worse.
I guess if I was Stephanie, I would just be like, but okay, I'm at the point where I already said I deleted his number, but I'm going to the barbecue.
Yes. Yes.
I would just be like, listen, we all know Brody throws the best barbecues in town. I cannot miss the Brody summer barbecue with Franky. And that's that. Like, I can't help that Doug's now their friends, but nobody misses the 20-hour long barbecue of the summer.
But I thought this was Doug's party. Is this Brody's party?
Who knows? Brody will be there. I think it is Doug's party.
Well, but either way, still a good tactic, because maybe Lauren's also thrown off and she's like, oh, is it Brody's party? I thought it was Doug's party.
Or Franky's party. Like, I literally don't know. Between the three of them, they're a trio, and I think it's all their barbecue.
They're all the same.
Yeah. Oh, great point. All the same. Their moms hang out together. Their servants hang out together.
They own the same trucker hats together. No shortage of those at that party.
No, but I'm turning on LC here. Okay. Like, all bets are off. I was upset writing my notes this week. And honestly, Lauren, you dumped him. Who cares? Why do you care? Like, and I just got annoyed and fed up with the way she acted when she came back and being little like, I'm like, the jig's up, Lauren. You're not as nice as you seem. I think she got to be a lead character. She knew her weight on the show and she swung it around. And I feel like she's essentially like writing her own story and making herself look good. And I am not on Team LC right now.
Morg, and this really isn't the first time we've seen this behavior, but I think now we've seen it like to the point where it's like, okay, yeah, this does feel ridiculous, but she does seem to struggle with like controllingness. I don't know if that's a word, but like, I mean, she doesn't want Stephanie to date this, just like she didn't want Heidi to date whatever Spencer. Wow, how could I have forgotten his name? He's only the greatest villain of all time. And she didn't want like Audrina to date Justin Bobby. Like, even though she kind of came around on those, it's like she clearly has like this tendency to feel like things have to be her way.
Yes. And I mean, taking it a step further, she like made fun of dating Doug, was just like, it fizzled, I'm not interested, it was so high school, blah blah blah. And it's like, if you truly felt all those things, why do you care if he goes on a date with Stephanie? You don't care if Brody does stuff. You don't get like, why it's always like towards the girl.
Yes. And she was like, my Doug?
Yeah, my
like, Doug. Girl, you do not. You released this Doug back to the sea.
You released the Doug. You release the Doug.
Let the Doug swim free and let another person catch him and reel him in.
At one point, Doug calls her like a fling, and she gets pissed about that too. And I was like, then what was it? You didn't want a relationship with him. You didn't want to date him. And she's like offended and is like, well, okay, I'm leaving.
Yeah, when she's like, okay, that's when I leave.
I was like, what? what do you think this was? It was a fling. Like, why isn't he allowed to call it that? Now that you're upset about something?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, just it's like it has to be her way.
Yeah, and so I honestly felt very bad for Stephanie in all of this because yeah, sure, she lied or whatever about her weird like I deleted his number and then she went on another date with him, so it's like maybe she just wasn't like ready to admit that she wanted to date this person cuz she could see LC was acting like weird and hurt. And I don't know, they're not the most mature or smart people, so I guess I just felt like she was maybe like thinking she was protecting her feelings. I don't know.
Yeah. But Mork, that is an interesting observation in that, like, maybe she, because I think we've even said this before with Audrina, where it's like Audrina was really hesitant to tell Lauren something. And we're like, ooh, that feels like a red flag. Like, why is Audrina not ready to tell Lauren this? Is this because she's afraid of how Lauren's going to take it? I mean, it kind of feels like that same thing with Stephanie. So, yeah, maybe it was to protect her feelings, but maybe it's also because she's like fearful of Lauren. Like, maybe you're right. Maybe we're really getting a highly edited version of Lauren.
I think we are. I guess that is where I think my theory is a bit here because I think they really wanted Lauren to stay on the show. She was being paid higher than everybody on the show. And
Mhm.
so I think they were trying to appease her to not lose her. They clearly, of course, do eventually lose her, but I guess that's just my theory right now.
Well, and I do totally agree with that, and I'm sure they do because they do paint her out to be the protagonist, right? I mean, she for
Yeah.
the most part, even when she does screw up, like, she screwed up
She gets to
before.
narrate the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we hear it all through her
Yeah.
perspective.
So I guess I'm just like I was just fed up with this, and mainly because she didn't want to date Doug. She had even called it like fizzling out. She wasn't like she was kind of just like joking about him and all this stuff. So it's like, well, since you date only people from your high school, this pool is too small, and since everyone you know only dates people from your high school, like this is bound to happen.
Yeah, like, get over it, Lauren, like, exactly. This is with a pool this small, I'm sure you're gonna end up dating someone who's dated someone else. Like, I'm sure she has. Like, I'm sure one of her previous high school boyfriend dates returned into her life have dated some of her friends. Like, I don't know. I just feel like the pool's too small.
The pool, it all goes back to the pool and the pool being too small. But okay, the thing that really drove me over the edge, and then we can move on to our next topics, but
Can we?
well, maybe we'll see how far this goes. But whenever it all goes down with Doug being really defensive at the pool party and saying that he didn't even care about Stephanie. She's like lonely. She reached out to him. He's just like going off and Stephanie is upstairs like in a room where she like can hear them because the window's open. And so she's kind of like crying because I mean this guy to a whole party was just like she's desperate. She wanted me. She texted me. Blah blah blah. And so Stephanie's kind of like walking to get her stuff through the house and Lauren stops her and is like, "Don't cry, acts all nice, and then is like, "Well, you did do this. Well, you did hurt me. You did." And then Stephanie tries to explain herself in this moment, and she's like, "Steph," and she just like stops her. And I was kind of like, I feel like this is her just like showing her control over the whole narrative of the show.
Yes. Yeah. Well, because I did feel like I was like, wow, this is kind of weird that they're arguing. Yeah, like Lauren's coming and like sort of helping her. It was a really odd scene, in my opinion. And I felt like it was to kind of, again, make Lauren look good. But you're right. It was weird. It was weird. And it didn't, in my opinion, do anything for the story. But then there's a lot of things they include in this show that don't really do anything for the story. So
Audrina's new
it doesn't
boobs.
mean much. Justin Bobby's whole existence.
Hey, that's a story in and of itself.
You're right. You're right. What am I saying?
Well, yeah. Okay. I won't dwell any further on my new opinions of LC, but I don't know. The tides are changing.
No, I enjoyed them. Yeah, I'm curious. We'll have to do an LC watch and we'll just have to keep our eyes out for all of those moments where it's like, oh, we're seeing her
Yeah.
true colors. Or maybe we're not. I don't know. I'm very curious about who she is for real.
Who any of these people are for real.
For real, for real. Not reality TV show real.
Another two people that we kind of get to see who, I mean, I honestly think are kind of, I think they are being pretty real on the show are Holly and Darlene. This is Heidi's family. Holly's living with Spencer and Heidi at the time, and Darlene, Heidi's and Holly's mom, drops in for a visit. I feel like both these people are like crying out for help for Heidi. Like, do not date this man, do not live with this man. Spencer's a horrible person. And I mean, I know that's like a quick way to like get your daughter who's madly in love with him to turn away. But what else do you do, Joe? Like, what do you do?
I feel like definitely though the way it's being handled is really just pushing her away. I feel like you almost have to embrace him and act like you like him and hope it kind of runs its course, or maybe make like little comments, but it really came to a head with Holly planning like a surprise visit for her mom. Like it all felt like it was just set up as a surprise attack, because Heidi still hadn't told her mom that she was living with
Yeah,
Spencer. So it was like, oh, surprise, here's mom. Like it just didn't feel like it was out of
love.
like an yeah, it was like more of like a and then the mom shows up and she's like, why didn't you tell me you and Spencer were living together? Like you could have told me. Why'd I have to hear it from Holly? It's just immediately everyone was on the defense.
Okay, you're right. I guess I was seeing it as like I I was seeing it as like big swooping acts of these people who care about Heidi, like trying to help her see how bad Spencer is. But if I were putting myself in Heidi's shoes, I'd probably be like really pissed and be like, y'all can't just like surprise attack me. And especially if I'm already so wrapped around his finger, I'd probably be like on his side about everything too.
Exactly, which is basically how it goes. So I feel like their tactic isn't quite the right one. I mean, which I feel like we also should have known that already, considering Heidi already
Heidi's
told
family.
Holly. Well, and I think that's something we didn't really talk about the last one was like Heidi tells Holly, she's like, look, you gotta move out. Didn't that already, or does that happen this one?
Well, it's been a reoccurring theme. It has already happened once, but
This time it's for real.
Heidi denied it and said Spencer said it. So Holly didn't move out.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay. Well, we're also on that really quickly. How long has Holly been living with Heidi and Spencer? Because the way this show is going is that it seems like it's been like 6 months, and they really don't paint Holly in a nice way, in my opinion, because when they do cut to her at their house more, she's always on the couch.
Okay, but I mean, I kind of think like how is she not getting a job? I do feel like she's not trying very hard.
That's what I mean. Like, I really think what we see of Holly, like, I don't know if this is actually how Holly is or if it's like strategic editing, but Holly, from what I've seen, is trying zero to get a job. And she is just like Spencer's not wrong. She's just sitting on his couch.
Okay, well, I did write a theory down about this because I was like, what if Holly's not trying to get a job? What if she's literally trying to get Spencer to blow? Like, what if that's the tactic?
Oh. Oh, so she's purely there to just create tension and friction between the two of them.
Like the reason I thought this was because the mom, whenever Darlene and Spencer go to lunch, which is weird in and of itself,
Oh, so
and
weird.
Spencer says something about Holly living with them, and he's like, "Well, at some point, it's gonna become like either me and Heidi, or like her and Holly. Like one of us is gonna have to go." And like Darlene, the mom, almost responds like with, "Well, would that not be so bad? Like basically, if she just lived with her sister." So it was almost like, are you in cahoots?
Maybe that whole thing was planted, like, because it was weird to me when you know Holly's story. I I don't love Holly that much, It's like she lived in LA and then she moved back to Crested Butte and then she had nothing going on. So she came back to
Okay, you're
LA
right.
where she's not really trying to get a job or do anything. So I think that theory more makes me feel like, okay, I can kind of justify Holly's way of being a little bit more now. Cause before I was like, this girl is so frustrating to watch.
What if her parents are like paying her? They're like, "This is your job. Like,
Oh,
lay
well,
around and make this man so angry he leaves."
then she needs a raise because she's really knocking it out of the park, in my opinion.
Yeah, and she's like going like I don't know, whenever she's like going to lunch with LC, I'm like, oh, that's one way to really rifle that guy's feathers. Ruffle the feathers? Rifle?
I think ruffle the feathers, but what's rifle with? Rifle through someone's things?
I guess I was mixing two phrases, but whatever
I
it is,
liked it.
it'll make
You
Spencer mad.
rifle those feathers. It sounds like something Spencer would do.
That sounds like something Spencer would say. Oh my god, I'm becoming a douchebag.
Step 1. Soon you'll be on Doug's jet, Morg. You're so close.
Confidently say phrases that aren't real phrases. Rifle your feathers.
This is like douchebag bingo. This is one ship and there's another ship and you're jumping onto that ship. Oh my gosh, you are turning into this.
Ah! God. Oh, I have a toast.
Oh boy. Oh boy. We know that it's over when Morg starts making weird toasts that mean nothing.
That's when I've clearly turned to the other side completely.
All while smiling and saying passive aggressive things.
Oh yeah, I did make a note, Joe. I said like the lunch with Darlene Spencer is cool, calmed, and collected crazy. He is a cool, calm, collected crazy man because
Oh,
they both are like trying to like push each other a little bit, but he's trying so hard not to lose it and be like, "I'm cool. I don't see why. I don't see why you think I'm not cool." But it's just it makes me have anxiety.
I think your alliteration phrase is really the perfect description of him in there. And yeah, Morg, on that lunch, watching it, it was so weird because it was like watching two people push each other's buttons purposefully and then like talk to each other like that wasn't their intention at all. It was like, I don't know why you would think that I'm being rude. Like all I said was you're manipulative and you're destroying my daughter's life. And it was like, yeah, I don't know why Spencer would get defensive about that either. And then he'd be like, look, I don't know like why you're like this is bothering you, but like you need to get out of your daughter's life and let her live and she wants to be with me and you need to leave. Like I mean it was just like these two people were being horrible to each other and like acting like they weren't.
Yeah, I'm being like, "Oh, I have no idea why you would think that."
Look, you need to relax. All I said was you're the devil.
Yeah, I mean, essentially that is how Spencer responds. He's like, "From what I've seen, I've done nothing wrong." Like, so he's just literally like evaluating his own life and being like, "I see nothing wrong with this."
An angel.
And I died whenever she arrived and was like, like, I do think he's manipulated. Like, she's saying all this to Heidi in front of Spencer. She's like, I do think he's manipulating you and very controlling. And he's like, oh, yeah, you got all that from Crested Butte. And I was like, yeah, they got all that from Crested Butte. You like arrived and were a crazy man at a dinner there, too.
He did keep bringing up Crested Butte. He's like, okay, just go back to Crested Butte and worry about it from there. And I was like, how many times is this man going to say Crested Butte? Like, this is not a diss, is it?
Maybe he's reminding them of home so that they go back there.
Another brilliant strategy, if that is the case, Spencer.
They are playing like these people. I've been saying they're all playing like they're all stupid, but now I'm like they're all playing 3D chess. Like these people are nuts.
Right? Like, this game is out of our league. We are amateur and they are professionals.
Yeah. Holly is also just dabbling with making new friendships or rekindling, I guess I should say, old friendships with Lauren Conrad.
Yeah. Yeah, Morg, back to the tiny pool. Nobody's capable of making a
Never.
new friend.
And even Audrina had to be at their apartment complex. They couldn't have possibly gone and joined a community program of some sorts to meet people outside of their circles. But Holly wants to rekindle her friendship with LC. Spencer almost blows his lid. Is that a phrase? Now I'm questioning everything.
I feel like, yes, that sounds right.
Flips his lid?
Flips his lid, blows his top. Are those two separate phrases or am I inventing these?
I mixed again. I think it is the way you said it.
Oh.
Flips his lid, blows his top. Okay. Whatever it is, he almost does one of those. I think they both mean the same thing. So
Yeah, so you
Holly
think you can blend them.
pisses him off again, doing her job. She probably got a bonus this month. and tells them that she's going to go to lunch with Elsie, or that she, misses Elsie. I don't think she admits she's getting lunch with her yet. And they're both upset.
Oh no.
And Spencer essentially says, like, that's not allowed, not while she is under Spencer Pratt's roof. And then Holly voices some concern, but of course Holly never says, or I mean, sorry, Heidi voices some concern, but of course Heidi never like says much more than anything. Like she's always just says kind of nothing. It's like her in Vegas. Amazing. Wow.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Heidi doesn't really bring much. I don't really know how to describe her, but so Morg, and this is like how unmemorable anything Heidi says is to me. I don't even remember what does she say, or like how does she respond? She's just like, you can't be like that, or what is her
This is
concern even?
Yeah, she has little to say besides like this has been like a really hard 2 years for me. Like in
Oh
vagaries
yeah.
of like the
Oh
last 2
yeah.
years have been really hard,
Oh
and
yeah.
I don't know if you should do that, but I can't tell you who your friends are. Like that's like the gist.
Oh my gosh. That is one thing that Heidi does do all the time that I'm pretty bored with is she's like really all about playing the victim. Like she's always
Mhm.
talking about how hard this has all been for her, and it's like, girlfriend, this was all like self-created on your part.
No, nobody has any authority of their actions, Joe.
You're so
Like
right.
from everything they've seen about themselves, they did nothing wrong.
That okay, talk about the actual theme of this show. There it is.
Yeah. Oh, from what I've seen, I've done nothing wrong.
I do love that.
Well, they live up to it because Holly blindly just goes like after hearing all this, like not under my roof from Spencer. Apparently, she's not worried about that at all. After hearing it's been a really hard 2 years for his sister and whatever her sister whinily says, she just goes to lunch with Lauren. And Lauren is very skeptical because, of course, it's Heidi's sister. So why wouldn't she be? And they have a nice enough lunch, but in my opinion, Lauren doesn't come off very interested in being either one of their friends.
Okay. So nice enough really is the word. When I watched this lunch, I was like, were these girls ever actually friends? Because they never actually like showed us they were friends. You know, like you learn that you have to see it through someone's actions. It's like they're just like saying it, you know. They're like, "Wow, I can't believe this is happening. Like we used to have just such good times together." And like that's it. Like that is like the conversation they have at this lunch. And then it's like, we should do this again sometime. And I'm like, do what? Sit there and pretend that you guys were really good friends? Like, I don't see any real friendship here.
No, exactly. There isn't any real friendship here. I think that's the problem.
No real friendship.
So, like, they're all just, this is all MTV concocting nothing to make us watch it. And here I am, 20 years later almost, watching it.
Totally sucked in. Good job,
And
MTV.
spending hours per week talking about it and then editing our own podcast on it. So I have been played real good. It's 3D chess, like I said.
Oh my gosh, Mark, I feel like we love to judge the show, but who's the real loser here?
Suckers.
It's
We're
us,
the
because we're
suckers.
also we're the suckers. We're not even making millions. We don't own diamond margarita bracelets.
We don't even
Yet.
have dads that will buy us jets and put trust funds in our name.
Right? No Chanel purses.
That's why we call us the Double Loser Podcast, Joe. We are the ones getting played.
It all makes sense. I didn't ever make that connection, but yes, indeed.
Well, the repeat we see between the Holly, Heidi, Elsie connection is Heidi writes Elsie another letter. And Joe, I had a suspicion here of, did Holly, Heidi's sister, just go to lunch with Elsie so that she would get invited to Elsie's new house, so that Heidi would know the new address, so that Heidi could put the envelope in the letterbox?
Okay, so that's like one step further than what I thought, because based on the way Holly acted about all of this, I kind of almost imagined, and like the timing of it all, I imagined Holly, like, leaving her house being like, "Wow, thank you, see ya," and then on her way out, like, slipping the letter in the mailbox because then the next day she sees Lauren and she's like, "Did you get a letter?" I was like,
Oh, like Holly doing it.
yeah, like, really Heidi just
Oh,
wrote the letter and gave it to Holly, and then Holly just slipped it in the
dumped
mailbox
it.
as she left. Like, that's what it felt like to me.
Okay, that, like, makes way more sense. I was like, "What is this concocted plan?" I'm sure Heidi didn't do her dirty work. You're right. Holly just dumped the letter in
And
there.
Holly is so interested in, like, playing peacemaker, and she's not very good at it, no offense, Holly, but, like, she just it seems like that's her only purpose, which, really
Like, the girl can't hold a job
I
down, Joe. Do we really think she's gonna execute
yeah.
well?
Well, but Morg, I was gonna say really goes back to your theory, like, maybe this is all part of her job is to break up Spencer and Heidi and get Lauren and Heidi to be friends again.
I mean, yeah, ultimately, like, that is what it all keeps going back to for me because, like we said, their lunch was, like, nice enough. Like, to me, Lauren shows not very much interest. And then what does Holly do? She goes back to Heidi and is like, "Lauren really misses you." And I was like, "The girl said nothing about missing her."
Yeah, like,
So
that didn't happen.
I was like, "That's weird." But then I was like, "Dang, this girl's doing her job." And then she's like, "Oh, Lauren said she would never be friends with you while you date Spencer." And so I was like, "Kind
I
of."
think that was after the lunch.
Oh, at the lunch. Yeah, so she's also, like, using this to, like, amplify Spencer's negativity in her life, but I was just like, she didn't really say
Yeah.
that. She just kind of was like, "I won't go near this guy either." But she wasn't really saying, like, that would make me open to the
Yeah,
friendship.
it's all very exaggerated.
Yeah. And, I mean, Holly's just making things up in my opinion.
Holly is
But, yeah, she is doing this to do her real job, which is to get paid by her parents to break up Spencer and Heidi, and we all know how it doesn't work.
so she's not good at her job.
She's not good at any jobs. But someone who has been stepping up at work lately is Audrina.
Oh, Audrina is put in charge of a pretty big show, Morg, and our girl Chiara is not there to support her.
No, she is off away. Who knows where Chiara is? Probably working about 10 other jobs compared to what Audrina
Right?
does.
Like doing a real job, whereas Audrina and her boobies just like facilitate.
Well, I decided to take the opportunity while I was watching these episodes to write down what exactly, because we've been questioning what is Audrina's job? She appears at things, she goes to things, but what is her job? So, a few times throughout the episodes we watched, she mentioned what her tasks were. So, I wrote them down. Um, but essentially, when Chiara's gone, she gets put in charge of managing what is the name of this show, Joe? The
The white tie affair?
The White Tie Affair is a band apparently that everyone knows of in their tiny little circle. And she is put in charge of what? All I got out of it was that she's in charge of the guest list.
Oh, yeah, which is Whitney's intern task. Like, I mean, she's totally just in charge of inviting people. And what we saw of that, she invites 3 or 4
And
people.
she also mentions it is her job to pack the place.
And how did we see her doing that? Totally word of mouth, the mouth being her only mouth. And she told 2 to 3 people.
Lo, Whitney, Lauren Conrad. That's pretty much
And
it.
Justin Bobby, don't forget that one.
Oh, of course not, because he no shows on her and lets her down.
Well, and even his response whenever she invites him, he's like, I mean, like, do you want me to be there? It's like, would she have told you if she didn't want you to be there, Justin? But like, or if she, I don't know, but like, clearly you don't want to go based on your
Yeah, his
response.
response to her when she invites him and when she invites him, she says, "It is my job to pack the place." And if I hear that, I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, let me invite some of my friends." Like, if I care about this girl and I'm actually dating her, then I probably would be like, "Oh, let me like get a group to help you out." Instead, he goes, "Well, if it's gonna benefit you, I'll go." Like, oh wow, we've been
Okay.
graced with Justin Bobby's presence again.
Well, I was going to say more when you said that, it made me feel like, oh, this is like a game because if he says something like, would it like, do you want me to go? And she's like, well, it's my job to pack the place. It's not like she's saying, yes, I really want you to go. She's like, look, like, I'm just inviting you because like I just have to invite people. Like, it
Oh,
just feels like a game of like having the upper hand.
they're like a tit for tat couple.
They totally are, which is why this is the worst relationship to
Yeah,
watch.
because also once she starts dating people, he like uses that against her as well.
Yes, that is bizarre. So I guess we should go ahead and talk about that as well because like, or wait, are there any more of her job tasks?
Well, I just wanted to mention kind of on this realm because Lo and Elsie go to this show. Like, remember where we left their household, Joe? They're just fine now. Like, we left
Oh,
them in disarray, the single tear down the cheek, I guess
mhm.
reconciled, and apparently we just pop in now and they're fine.
A real Brady Bunch situation. Like they are all happy and dandy. Lo and Audrina were gonna hang out together while Lauren was in Italy. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, no, they're not.
Yeah, like their high pitched voices. I like even wrote down like they hate that they're having to hang out without Lauren. They're like, oh, we'll do something together. We'll be
Yeah, I
hanging
was like,
out without you. I
the
was like, no.
biggest lie ever.
Yeah. But I was just like caught off guard. I had thought at least like we were gonna have to see Audrina and Lo like actually reconcile, but apparently they just got talked to offset and we're like, y'all need to freaking get it together. Did you see that tear down Elsie's eye? We're trying to keep her on this show. Y'all gotta get along.
Fake it till you make it, bitches.
I mean, they got like scolding. I don't know.
Yeah, that must have been because I mean it feels forced, but they're making it work.
Yeah, or they're like, this isn't the story we want to tell. So they're like, figure it out.
Okay.
That's what I think. I think their storyline got shut down.
I mean, which is weird to me because you think that they would need more storylines than the ones they have.
No, they're like, this is good. Everybody's been watching.
Unless more they're saving it and they're like letting it boil and then it's all
Mhm.
just gonna or they're letting it what is it like simmer until it boils over. Like I feel like we're definitely gonna get to a point where they're not gonna like each other again.
Yeah, I mean, I expect some like good things to come in the second half of this season, but
Yeah, don't let
if
us
they don't,
down.
yeah, don't let us down. But if they don't, I can see why Elsie was like done with the show. You know, it's like fizzled.
Yeah. Yeah, like nothing changes.
And I personally think it's all because they're so dependent on the drama the drama Spencer and Heidi have brought up until now.
They
Like,
really are.
I think that's like what they were hoping these seasons would continue to ride on. And this season, it just hasn't been the fire because like they literally won't be around LC, which was where like I guess the crux of a lot of the fights were around.
Well, and you know, when you really get used to something, you do get bored with it. And I think that is kind of what we're seeing with Heidi and Spencer's. It's like we have seen, okay, maybe not so much with Lauren anymore, but now we're seeing like some weird drama between them and like their family and stuff. And it's like, I think that I'm ready for someone else to be the villain. Like they can take a
Yeah.
season off.
Well, and I think Stephanie's about to step up for us. We keep thinking so.
Deliver, girl, deliver.
She's got fire in her heart now. Doug's been ripped from her hands.
Yes, it's her
Origin
Batman
story.
Two-Faced Harvey Two-Face moment.
Yeah, it's her origin story.
There we go. Thank you. Why couldn't I find that?
I knew exactly what you meant.
There's my superhero girl.
Over here. Much better than douchebag Doug boy. So it's fine.
She'll take what she can get at this point.
But I think we got a wrap on Audrina's love life. It's expanding.
It is.
Like this is the only thing that's changed this whole like I mean really. This is like the only thing I can give you guys that's really different.
But for the most part, it's the same because, okay, thinking about this, she does start to go on some dates. She goes on a couple of dates with this guy, Colin, which more for me were so cringy because she kept talking about Justin Bobby.
Okay, it was really cringy. And he even brings up that it's cringy. He's like, you know, you keep talking about this guy and Gotta ask, like, what's going on there?
I know. It's like he became her therapist.
And he really was. And then at one point, she's like, I mean, we're not together and he's not my boyfriend, but like, I don't know if I'll ever get over him. And then she just like shrinks in her chair and goes, sorry. I was like, gosh, why are you on this date? This guy is probably like, I could leave now.
Yeah, right? Like, that has to be on his list of the most awkward dates he's been on, like, I mean, yeah, like, why were you there, Audrina? Although I guess I will say, like, I mean, good for you for being honest, but, like, why bother? Why bother?
Like, she's just so stuck on Justin Bobby. And I mean, we all cannot figure it out to save our lives, but she likes bad boys.
But I don't even find him to be that bad. He's just, like, an enigma, like, to her. To us, I feel like we see through all of his crap.
Yeah, that's true. But she thinks he's like cool or something. I don't know. He has her mesmerized.
It's those cult leader vibes, Mark. He would make a great fake, like, guru.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, who's to say we wouldn't follow him?
No, we're way too cynical. We wouldn't.
Yeah, you're right. But Audrina would.
Oh, she would be his number one devotee.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so it does seem like all these dates she's going on are all to only get back at Justin Bobby because he's dating.
Yeah, this is what I mean about it. It seems like it's all about the upper hand. Like she's just doing all of this stuff to make Justin Bobby jealous cuz it's like every time she does this, she like tells him about it. Like I found it so weird when they're like out after she had this date with this guy and she's like, I need to tell you about the date I went on. It was like, why? Like, why? Nobody asked.
She
Like,
needs to.
just she needs to.
Yeah, you're so right. It is just like well, I heard you were dating, so I need to tell you I'm dating.
Yeah, like how does that make you feel? Which backfires because he's like,
Don't
so I'm gonna
care.
keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's ridiculous how much the man can show her who he is and her still be like, but I think I can make him different. I think I can change him.
It's like a superpower of his.
Yeah, I guess so. Like, I mean, never forget the man like cackling after he grabbed some girl's boob at the club and kissed her, and he has a scarf around his head, cackling at Audrina's face, and she took him back after that. Like how? Like that? This season is filmed after she's watched that last season. I can't get over that.
Gosh, such a good point. Like she has seen it all. And it's not even like he tries to hide any of this. He does it all in front of her. And he's pretty open about it when she talks to him about it. And she's still so hung up on him.
Yeah. So I am rooting for the fact that she went on another date with who we know to be her future husband, Corey. So that must mean something takes off there.
Yeah, but when? Because even after they go on a diet, like you think Justin's going to be gone and he's still in the picture.
Like, do you think? Because, I mean, it's also easy to Google this. Like, Audrina and Corey don't stay together. They get a divorce eventually. Do you think it's because she still would never let go of Justin Bobby? Like, I 100% do.
Yeah, well, and that's another question for like The Hills, The New Beginnings. Like, I think they're both in it.
Yeah.
Do they date at all in The Hills, The New Beginnings?
I'll have to research that, but I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, they definitely. I wonder, Morg.
Yeah.
I did read though that the reason that Audrina and her husband got married, or did you tell me this? Honestly, these days I don't know, that it was because that she got pregnant.
Oh, I didn't tell you that, but I did read that as well.
So I mean, I wonder if there was never
like a true
never anything even. Yeah, if it was just like a shotgun wedding.
Yeah. Okay. Well, whatever. If it gets her away from Justin Bobby for a bit, I'm here for it. And it raises a huge question from our bros, Franky, Brody, and
the boys,
the homies. They ask who is she going to take to Cabo?
Oh, Morg. To say they ask is the biggest understatement ever. They like stampede and swarm the poor girl.
I know, while she's with the new guy, Corey.
Yes, like she's just trying to enjoy this pool party and dangle on a floaty with her man. And they're like, who's you gonna take to? Who's you gonna take to Cabo?
We love Justin
And they
Bobby. We
go.
already invited Justin Bobby. Who are you going to take to Cabo?
And that's exactly how it goes down.
Yeah, and we don't get an answer yet. So we're going to have to come back and see who goes to Cabo. I want both of them to go to Cabo. I want a showdown in Cabo.
I really hope that's what happens.
Because we see her, talking to Justin Bobby at the pool, and he's essentially not at the pool party. She gets topless in her home pool with him as the very last scene of episode 10, and are talking about Cabo, and he is like, I get a hall pass in Cabo to do whatever I want. I was like, how freaking romantic.
Right? He makes all the rules.
Yeah. And she's like, you're dangerous. What?
Is that really what she says?
Yeah. Or you're bad or something. I don't know.
Sounds like our girl. Doesn't surprise me.
Just, yeah. Her phrases match her leather. You're dangerous.
You're dangerous. Well, Mark, man, then I feel like
we've captured
we now have something to look forward to. Like, I feel like we've got this trip to Cabo coming up. I hope she does bring them both. I hope this causes for a juicy moment. I hope we start to I hope we start to see some changes in these characters and the drama.
I do too. And I am also looking forward to Cabo. It's almost like we get to go with them.
So, and I'm sure it's coming up because if next week we're watching episodes 11 through 16 or 11 through 15.
I bet it's a two-parter. I bet we get to capture it though in the next recap.
I hope we do as well. And I hope it is a two-parter, or if it's one of those ones like the Paris ones where it ends up being 2 episodes in one, like I need to go mentally prepare myself for that because those are long.
Those were surprising. I think, I don't know, season 3, they were like playing with things. I felt like this one's been much more like, at least MTV's keeping them the same amount of time as far as episodes go.
Consistency. We like that.
Yeah.
So then we're going to go watch those, and you guys should too. And until then, we are the Double Loser Podcast. Go follow us on our socials at Double Loser Podcast. And we'll see you guys Friday with another episode, hopefully all tan from Cabo.